Right, so we are at Romford Film Festival 2025, day 4, I think. One of our later sessions, short film session, one of my favourite sessions because it is a bit of a local session. We've got some local filmmakers in there as well. So first of all, do me a favour, let's go down the line. Tell me who you are and what you did on your particular project.
Hi everyone, my name's Steve Barnett for Forest 779. It's my first one. I basically directed, produced, wrote 12 revisions of a script, chief cook and almost bottle washer. So.
Hello everyone, my name's Dean Barnett and I was the lead role in 779. I was the mountain guy in the woods.
Hi everyone, I'm Adam Daniels. I was director, writer, producer and camera operator for Secret Service Teens, The Origin Story.
Hi everyone, I'm Ruth Daniels and I played the mum, which is quite easy because I am Adam's mum.
So I'll just skip the casting questions here because it's all family. So first of all, let's go back down the line, starting with mum over there. And what was that project or that film or that TV show that you saw that really made you want to be part of this industry and part of filmmaking? Was there anything that inspired you to do this?
Yes, I think that, basically Adam started filming from when he was about 12, which always action films, and I've always been in them to some degree, starred in them or acted in them or helped behind the scenes, and I think Adam's inspired me. He's had projects from school, projects from college, and he's always loved filming, so I think just his love of film has inspired me to act in them.
The same question was.
Yeah, same question down the line, sorry.
I guess just seeing all sort of like following on from that, sort of like from a very young age, I was always sort of inspired to make films and just kept doing it really. And about 2 years ago I made my own production company. So from that I just started to get it more and more professional and just really enjoy making films. I guess really what inspires me is all the sort of the large Mission Impossible franchises. That's what really sort of put my attention.
What really inspired me is just the fact that my dad really wanted to get into the film industry. He got into it doing extra work and leading up to it, leading into feature films. And watching him was inspiring, so I wanted to help along with any project that he had, basically.
That does deserve a round of applause.
I'm the embarrassing dad that he's talking about. I've been doing an essay since 2009 and just worked my way up. What inspired me? Not one single thing, I don't think. I've always done movies, I've always documented and realised how important videoing family, especially your own kids when they're being born, and all the birthday parties and things like that. And I've just changed all the formats as years gone on. I've done a bit of scuba diving, I've done filming underwater, so I'm not new to a camera, whether it's stills or video, and I just saw some of the short films that were available online, not I hasten to add at Romford Film Festival or any other film festival, and I thought, I think I can do a little bit better than that. And some of my kids also saw similar films and they said, Dad, why don't you do it? And I always had the story in my head, and there was Forest 779, and that was the birth of that, really.
So on that, for our directors, creators, writers, you do a little bit of everything when it's low-budget filmmaking. Where did the initial spark, the initial seed of this story come from, and why did you want to tell this story?
In my adventures as an SA, I've done quite a lot up to advanced standard, sword skills and gun skills, firearms, everything, the whole lot. But when I was doing the sword skills, obviously you rub shoulders with a lot of people who are into reenacting and all that. So whether you like it or not, you're getting sort of introduced into a bit of history. So the Anglo-Saxons and the Vikings was one of the things that, sounds romantic to a lot of historians, and it was something I just got drawn into. And I know that when the Vikings came to our shores here in the UK and they'd done a bit of raping and pillaging, it weren't all as easy as they thought. The Anglo-Saxons did give them some back. The Vikings moved north. I'm really abbreviating history right down, so forgive me. The Vikings moved up north, drew a line in the sand, said we're going to live under Dane law, A lot of Anglo-Saxons got on with Vikings, and then off they went, formed their own little tribes, and they made unique clothes and a unique language and all the rest of it. This is documented, and it happened. Small numbers, but it did happen. Over 3,100 miles or thereabouts away on the shores of USA, North America, and about 1,100 years difference in time, brings us up to the turn of the century, which is a true story of a native Indian called Ishi, and he was known as the last of the Yahi. And these were an Indian tribe who, again, were small, they were unique, they had their own language, their own clothes. It's well documented. You Google him, honestly, you start reading about it, you won't be able to put your phone down or your tablet, whatever. It's well documented, and loads of pictures taken of the guy, video, everything. It just captured me, that story, because every single one in his tribe died, and he was the only one left. And he walked out of the jungle, and it took him 8 months to walk, and he was emaciated, and he came into the grounds of an institution. Anyway, cut a long story short, he ended up dying after a few years. So that story, which grabbed me, and the historical side of things that I knew about the Vikings, and I think there's similarities here. What would happen if what happened to him, Ishi, the real life story, was also happening, and probably did, to the Anglo-Saxons and Vikings when the last one died out? And that is exactly what you just saw on the screen there. But you've got to wait for part 2 to know what happened.
And in terms of a spy movie, an action movie, quite audacious, quite grandiose to go for that kind of style. What made you want to tell this story? Go for this?
Yeah, so funnily enough, I actually came up with this idea when I was about 15, so about 5-6 years ago now, and I wrote it as like a full feature film. Huge budgets and that, and I wrote it. It took me about a year or two to write this full feature film. And when about a year or two ago, it resurfaced, so I was really wanted to shoot it. But obviously, at my current sort of standard, I was like, can't do a multi-million-pound film. So I was like, why don't I make an origin story to that film? So hence, Secret Service Team's The Origin Story was born. So this is like a pilot short film, and then which sort of leads up, and then the end of this is the start of the feature film, which I wrote. So it's basically, this is like a precursor to what I hope to eventually do, which will follow next. So that sort of, I always wanted to do the feature film, but because I couldn't at the moment because of the budget, I was like, okay, I'll make an origin story, and then fingers crossed, hopefully, my aim is to make the feature film and carry that on, the story.
What would you say was your biggest hurdle in terms of making this movie? What was your biggest challenge, and how did you overcome that?
I guess because I still wanted elements from the feature film. Like, I always had an idea to have that helicopter sequence in it, and I really wanted that. So I know even if I was doing it on a smaller scale, I still wanted to incorporate that. So I managed, through a contact, get in touch with somebody who actually owned like an RAF airfield, and managed to somehow do a whole few days filming there and got all the helicopters for it. So I guess that was my biggest hurdle, trying to set that up and arrange it, because I knew I wanted to have it in it. But I was just determined enough to actually achieve it, which was good. But that was definitely the biggest hurdle, trying to set that up.
And for yourself, your biggest hurdle on the film?
Sorry, I was captivated by your story. Sorry.
Thank you.
My biggest hurdle? Trying to get the right weather, because I wanted to relay a sense of calm in the forest scenes. I didn't want the wind in the trees and all that. I didn't want big drama going on in the leaves and the canopy. The big drama was happening on the forest floor. I didn't actually want any distractions. As it was, the birds were distracting enough. The sound editing was quite heavy because I was filming under a flight path, and I had to take out an aircraft every sort of 30 seconds, and the lab was full of humming fans from security cameras. There was a phenomenal amount of post I had to do, again, myself, learning curves because I didn't know how to do it. But thanks to Mr. Google, anyone can do anything if you look hard enough. But yeah, that was...
And anybody, when they see their movie up on the big screen, the biggest screen, can tell me after months of watching it on the laptop and then it goes on the big screen, what is wrong, every little detail that is wrong with the movie, because you're creators and that's what you do, you beat yourselves up. But I like to turn a positive on that, and this is a question for down the line. What do you see up there that you're the most proud of? Something, a scene, a moment, something that really stands out? And this is for everyone.
All right, I'll say, I guess obviously just seeing it on the big screen is quite an achievement in itself, but I guess sort of the proudest moment was just, I wasn't say a particular moment, but just how it sort of just all came together. And because it's obviously having an entire feature film script and trying to write it into a shorter 30-minute film was quite a challenge, so just making sure that sigh of relief when you know it sort of all came together and hopefully just about worked was quite an achievement and something I was proud of.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I've got to say it's exactly the same. It's going through all the preparation, putting all the props on, and then finding yourself, looking at yourself on the screen afterwards, thinking, yeah, it actually does come together. And shows you that all of that does take time and it does take a lot of effort, but it's worth it in the end.
How different locations when you're at one location outside and then you're inside somewhere, but it's somewhere completely different, and how that sort of all marries together, but it doesn't show that you're somewhere else and then somewhere else. It sort of all comes together, really, and well, hopefully it doesn't.
And yourself?
I think seeing it on the big screen, it's more evident to me, and thankfully, that I got the colours right for the forest scenes. I didn't want to wash them out, I didn't want them too dark and eerie and mysterious. I wanted it to be nature, beauty, the greens are greens, and everything else. And again, as I mentioned before, no wind and moving about. I wanted it was still and serene, and it happened. We even had, you could probably remember all the clouds of butterflies we had. It was as if they was on cue, as I was walking through. Clouds of butterflies flying everywhere. It was like a Snow White movie suddenly, but you couldn't have timed it more perfect. But yeah, seeing it up on the big screen, seeing the colour LUTs and that I applied to it, it worked, it was good. Again, on a computer screen, you do keep biting your lip and thinking, should I tweak it more? Should I underdo it? Should I overdo it? What should I do? But I saw it myself and I was quite happy with the end result, and it all come together quite nice. A little bit daunting because it was only a 2-day shoot, 1 day in the forest, 1 day in the lab. Could have done with an extra day, really. But also his costume was here and then on a bit of paper, and then my wife Yvette, if it wasn't for her, he wouldn't have looked the way he did, and I thought he looked great. It was all like a proper costume. But it would have been so much easier if we could have just gone into the costumers and just eyed something off the peg. That would have cut months, out of it. It would have saved a lot of headaches and all. But I think it was worth it now. I've seen it up there, and hopefully you did too. I don't know.
Yeah. So I'm going to throw it out to the audience for any questions, but we don't have a microphone, so you are going to have to shout. Not too loud, please. Anyone? Can't actually see anyone because there's lights in my face.
I have a question.
Yep, go for it.
What was your inspiration for the film?
You directing that at me? Or?
It could be for both parties. Both parties go one after the other.
Okay, my inspiration for the film. Ooh, I guess I said it earlier, but more like the Mission Impossible franchises. I watched that from a young age, and that sort of really inspired me to make something like this. So yeah, definitely I would say that.
Yeah. Again, just repeating what I said earlier on, I think the inspiration was the two stories that I knew existed in history. It was just a question of merging them together, making it believable and introducing characters that could carry it off in the right way possible. And yeah.
Anyone else? Right, well I've got two to finish with. So first one being this section of movies, a lot of them were locally made, local filmmakers, local creators. That must inspire you guys as well to see other people from around these areas doing this as well. So seeing them, everyone's films up there, what do you think you could take away from the other projects that you watched today up on the big screen?
Sorry, is it me?
Anyone?
Because it was my first film, when I was actually shooting it, I was conscious of the fact of not showing any logos, not actually naming any brand names and things like that. I was paranoid about some copyright guy coming up with a big hammer and saying, you can't do that. So I was quite shocked watching some of the other films where he mentions things like ginger nuts and and all the brand names of things that we know. So I'm taking away with me a potential script that might be quite shocking actually next year if I get it up there.
Bring it. And everyone else down the line?
I guess just sort of seeing all like the creativity of the other filmmakers, and I know some of it we shot in a forest, and a lot of other filmmakers do, and I feel like it would be nice if, you know, you're so near to them to cross paths, but you never actually meet them. It's like, oh, where are they? So I just like how, you know, we all do it locally. It's sort of like, even though we're not filming it at the same time or the same film, it's all, you do feel that sense of community, even though it's all like comes together, even though it's like, oh, I recognise that location, which I actually did, but yeah, it's just the sense of community, isn't it?
Yeah, a lot to take away from, really, a lot to inspire, I think, really, and all the films have got something, all the films, and I thought your acting was fabulous. Where's the leaf? Have you got the leaf? Brilliant, and all of them got something, and the last film, the emotion of the two girls, I thought that was really emotional, so I'll take away that and hopefully learn from that. So yeah, everything's got something.
So on that, I've asked for what you're most proud of in this film, but I'm going to ask you to do one last thing, and that is, if you could go back and reshoot one scene within your movie, and you have to take one of the characters and change them with a talking animal, what kind of animal, what character, what kind of animal, and why?
You ran out of questions.
He's just making it up.
If you've seen any of my other Q&As, this is what genuinely happens.
So mine obviously would be the blueberry scene, or blackberry scene, because I don't eat blackberries and don't like them very much, but I was forced to eat them. And it'd be Wile E. Coyote out of Looney Tunes, because you asked me for.
Carrying on from that, which is a conclusion to that story, when I had him framed and he was in focus, the lighting was correct and everything else, and then I started recording, he started acting, the blackberries went in the mouth, and I was so busy watching him over the camera, on the screen, over the camera, on the screen, and even though I could see part of our base camp was in shot and it was going to be no good and I'd have to scrub it, I just let it run because everyone was enjoying so much that he was laughing and spewing out these blackberries.
I had to do it three times.
Yeah,
Three times.
So my character would probably be Muttley. So
You guys.
Do you know that?
No, you can go.
So what was the key for the question?
So you have to
You like
reshoot.
blackberries?
Reshoot something.
You have to reshoot a scene.
Yeah.
You're changing one of your characters for a talking animal. Which animal? What character? And why?
I guess I'll say Mary, which is yourself.
Oh yeah.
Trying to think on the spot here.
Already recasting mum.
Talking animal. Actually, I have no idea.
I was going to say you've got to be careful now, because now you just said it's your mum, isn't it? So you
That's why I started, but I stopped.
Can't call a Bugs Bunny or.
What's it out? Dad and son and mum and son.
Yeah, I thought that.
That's the best Q&A ever.
Yeah.
Right. Okay
What
then.
made you cast your children? Yeah.
It's more like the other way around.
It's the other way
It's the other way
It's a
around.
lot cheaper.
Yeah. Very true.
So on that
They
bombshell.
casted his mum. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Obviously, I thought the mum was the star. She is. Wow.
Okay, well, anyway, thank you guys for submitting your movies to the festival. Thank you for letting us show them up on the big screen today, and thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.